what matters is getting out of there and getting back to his family. But in the meantime, in between time, to stay in touch with his children and keep a rapport with his children's mother and his family in any way that he can, because that's essential to making it out. A lot of guys lose hope. It's a scary thing to encounter somebody with no hope, because they'll do anything, and you go into a place where they try to destroy your hope. The purpose is to destroy your hope and to keep you there, to make you dependent on something that's designed to destroy you.
Welcome to PS Live, where we talk about motherhood, fatherhood, and all that other good shit. I am your host, Jessica Shari, but you can call me Jess. Today we have a wonderful guest. He is a father, a grandfather. He also happens to be my father-in-law, Mr. John Morton. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. So let's jump in. How many kids do you have? How many grandkids do you have?
I have 2 sons and I've got 3 beautiful grandkids.
And did you always want kids?
Yes, I've always wanted kids. I've liked kids ever since I was 1.
Really?
Right.
So how old were you when you found out you were going to be a father?
When I found out I was going to be a dad, I was 20 years old.
Yeah. How did you react? You were just excited? You were like, wait.
No, I thought I wasn't ready at the moment. I wasn't ready, but I got myself together quick.
Yeah.
Little help from my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember one time in particular, he came over because, him and my mom were separated. So I was staying with my mom. I remember, I never forget, he came over to my mom's and he told me to come outside. He wanted to talk to me. I went out to talk to him and he asked me, did I have any money in the bank? I said, yeah, I got some money in the bank. Then he asked me how much. And I told him how much I had. And he told me to go get $500. And he said that he was going to match the $500. And he said, when I get off from work tomorrow, you meet me here at 3:30 and I'm taking you to go get you a place, because you're going to put your girl and your kids in that place, and that's where you're going to be at. And I was like, Mom didn't tell me I had to leave. And he was like, you're going to get that place and put her in it, and that's where you're going to be. And I remember I went to my mom. I was like, Mom, you ain't tell me I had to leave or what? And then she was like, well, what did your daddy say? So I knew it was time for me to grow up then.
Yeah.
So I moved, and I had been on my own ever since.
Yeah. That's real.
Yeah.
You sound like you had a good dad who put you up on some game,
Yeah, he did. He taught me a lot of things. And my dad, he didn't go too far in school, but he knew what he knew.
Yeah.
And what he knew was right on.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's pivot a bit. So how old were you when you ended up going to prison, or when you first found out maybe you might end up in prison?
I got incarcerated at age of 24. I turned 25 in prison. Yeah, I turned 25 in prison. I did 21 years.
There. So we talk a bit about that. What did you, when you found out that you were going to prison, what did you kind of put in place to ensure that you have this young son? How could you still be a present father in his life? Like, did you have to maneuver and just set some things up to make sure he was cared for? And
Well, I did. I got a good family structure. I had tremendous support from my mom, especially my parents, my sisters. Um, I had to do a lot of maneuvering and soul searching too. Um, I I did whatever I had to for my kids because I knew I couldn't be there physically. So I wrote them letters. I talked to them whenever I could. My parents brought them up on visits, and I tried to stay connected as much as possible. Because you get incarcerated, you can lose touch not only with reality, but you can lose touch with your family and everything that's meaningful to you. Prison is to isolate and punish, to punish and isolate, and it also ostracizes you from anything that you become connected to, and it is designed to make you become solely dependent on those walls and those bars. And when you do, you see it all the time. Guys get out and go right back because they can't function because they've become adapted to those bars and those bricks. And you have to stay focused on what matters. I met a bunch of when I went to prison, the atmosphere of it was different than it is now. And there were a lot of old school guys in there, and they would mentor you. They would tell you stuff and take you under their wing because they were really repentant of the things that they've done. So they wanted to help you steer clear of any trouble and everything. And I met a good group of old guys when I were in there, and they steered me and they reared me and gave me some understanding and clarity to a lot of stuff I didn't previously have. And one guy told me, you got to keep one foot on the street. And I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, man, he said, read the newspaper. He said, know what's going on out there. He said, talk to your people. He said, call your kids every day if you can. And I did that. I stayed in touch. I called as much as I could. I wrote. And like I said, my parents made sure my kids got up there, especially my mom.
That's rough. So how did you say you were mentored by a lot of men and you ended up becoming a mentor yourself? How did that kind of happen?
Yeah, like I said, it's easy to sit back and do nothing. But I felt like I had to do what was done for me. Yeah. And I seen guys in there. One of the primary contributing factors to prison, to incarceration, is substance abuse, lack of education, and lack of employment. And some guys have all three of those factors. But a lot of guys end up in prison because they don't have any education. They don't do any better because they don't know how to do any better. And so I was in there, and I'm living amongst these guys, and I was getting myself better, and I felt that I needed to do what, like I said, what was done for me.
Absolutely. Um, absolutely. I think that's like you said, that's important because the same way it was given to you, you gave back. Because I think a lot of God kind of gives you the grace to get through your situation, your trials, so you can impart that into somebody. So I think that's dope that you gave back like that. So
Yeah, and that's deep. You say that because when I was inside, I was in I got in the Bible heavy, and I was on the ministry board, and I worked at the church and everything. And it's a verse in Corinthians, and it says that God blesses for one reason. He blesses you to be a blessing to somebody else.
absolutely. I think that's one of the main reasons why I even started Prego and shit and different stuff because the mission is so no parent feels alone because there's a lot of times that you absolutely uh, even if you're surrounded by a lot of people, you can feel alone, and that's why I think it's so important. You have such a powerful story because there's so many men who, because going to prison, that's not just you know what I mean. You were in there 21 years. That's not no hoe. You know what I mean? And I'm sure
Right.
you absolutely felt alone most of those times, even with that foot out, and staying inside the world and still talking to your family and different things. And there's a lot of men who do feel that, whether they're in prison or not, feel alone just being a father. Like you said, possibly they didn't have a father to put them up on game, or they didn't have those people to really, tell them the right way to go. So I think it's extremely important, you know, to talk about, all those different things. Um, so switching, I think what was one of the main things, other than just kind of staying in touch with what was going on in the world? Was there another piece of advice they gave you to kind of help you knock those years down? And like you said, like stay mentally there, but
Yeah, when I right before I got locked up, I got in trouble. I ran into an old friend, and he had I hadn't seen him in years, and he had just started coming back around. And he came over to my house, and I'll never forget. He came over. He used to be a real big. Him and his brothers were deep boys. They was in the street heavy, and they had both went to prison, came home, and he was trying to turn himself around. Well, he was turning himself around, and he was like, John, you need to he said, man, he said, ain't nothing in these streets. He said, you need to come on and go with me, man. He said, let's start us a business. He said, come go to school with me, man. He said, I'm going to heating and cooling school. And he said, they paying for everything, man. They gave me all the tools I need. He said, they paying for the class and everything. He said, you should come get signed up and we'll go start a business. Well, he motivated me a little bit at first. I was gonna go. Then I thought about when him and I were little, we used to wash the cars and he used to pinch off the money and everything. I'm like, I can't get in no business with you. But he was giving me something. He was giving me what I need, and I didn't receive it right then. Then I end up getting in trouble, going to prison, and then while I was before I went to prison, before I went to trial, actually, I was in Oakland County, and I called him. He had called my sister, and he told me to call him. I called him collect, and he gave me the best. He gave me the best piece of advice that I think I could have gotten at the moment that was useful to me. And he told me, he said, listen, man, he said, they gonna jerk you. He said it just like this. He said, they gonna jerk you. He said, they gonna F over you in court. He said, you're not gonna win in court. He said, how you gonna win is coming back. He said, you're gonna win on appeal. He said, he said, you're gonna go to prison, man. And he said, when you get in there, he said, it's certain stuff, man, that you gotta adhere to. He said, don't go in there and join no organization or join no factions or no clubs or nothing. He said, because you weren't practicing or doing none of that out here. He said, don't go in there mess with no sissies because you weren't doing that out here. He said, don't go in there gambling. He said, because you weren't gambling out here. And he said, any problem you have with any guy, he said, you take care of it right then on the spot. Don't let him go get nobody. Don't let him go get nothing. And you know, he told me that, and I lived by that every day in there. And I got in the church, and like I said, I got around some good brothers, and I navigated those waters. I navigated that storm because of the advice. You got to seek counsel. You got to seek wise counsel, the Bible says. And I listened to him because he had been in that situation. And he made it out, and I made it out because of wise counsel.
That's real. So how was it though, walking out those doors as a free man? What that feel like?
You know, coming out of prison was bittersweet. It was the best day of my life, but it was the saddest too, because I thought about everybody I lost that I didn't get to see, and because I lost several relatives. I lost my dad, and then I thought about the camaraderie I had with the guys in there, and I was leaving them behind. I thought about everything, but then I rejoiced in the fact that I was going to get to see my mom and spend some time with my mom. And my kids, my grandson, my youngest grandson was there when I came out, and he hadn't seen me. He had only, heard my voice and maybe see me on video chat and stuff. But when I seen him and he seen me, and I reached out for him, and he came to me with no hesitation. That was the best.
So how do you like being a grandfather? Is it is it kind of bittersweet? Because it's like, wait.
No, I like being a granddad. That's not bittersweet at all. That's joyous. That's joyous to have grandkids, and to interact with them. I like that. I like that. That's the highlight of my time here for me.
So what does legacy mean to you then, in terms of, you have these grandkids, you have sons, and what does that look like for you?
Well, to me, legacy is the passing on of your principles, I think, and your morals, and your knowledge and your moral fortitude to those you love, especially to your offspring and their offspring. My dad left me my dad left me a good moral fortitude. Like I said, my dad didn't go far in school. He was unlearned in academics, but what he knew about family, and what he knew about working and taking care of business, he gave me that. He left me that. And I get that. I got that from him. I got a lot of moral fortitude from my mom, and I got from both of them. I got my love for Christ and my belief in the Word, and that's what I want. I got to leave, that to my son and to his sons and daughters, and I believe that's what legacy is, and that's what we're supposed to pass on.
Absolutely.
Of course with some insurance too. I gotta get me some insurance because we blacks and we things are hard for us. It's doubly hard for us. And you want to leave your children's children something to build on, or something to start their journey with. So not only moral fortitude, but something tangible too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so what would you say to a young father who might be headed to prison? Maybe he's watching from prison right now, or somebody who's about to get out. And if it's different, then we can just speak to each of those individually. But what's something you would say to? Yeah, actually, that's what that. So, what would you say to a young father who's headed to prison right
A young man headed to prison right now, I would tell him that he's in for one of the roughest parts of his life, and that he need to he needs to do the time, and he don't need to let it do him, and he needs to focus on what matters, and what matters is getting out of there and getting back to his family. But in the meantime, in between time, to stay in touch with his children and keep a rapport with his children's mother and his family in any way that he can, because that's essential to making it out. A lot of guys lose hope. It's a scary thing to encounter somebody with no hope, because they'll do anything, and you go into a place where they try to destroy your hope. The purpose is to destroy your hope and to keep you there, to make you dependent on something that's designed to destroy you. I used to equate prison with the beast, and the beast is a beast that like to eat black meat. It eat white meat too, but it eat white meat sparingly, but it like to eat black meat. And once that beast gets you, it's hard to get out the belly of that beast. It's hard, and some don't make it out. But I would tell somebody headed for there, and if they're a father, that they need to stay focused on getting out of there, and they need to stay focused on their family and their loved ones and their children especially.
now? And then what would you tell a young father, maybe he's watching from prison right now, got a couple more years still to knock down? What would you say to him?
If somebody inside already and on their way out here, I'll tell them to focus on obtaining all you can, far as abilities or far as skills. Sharpen yourself mentally, sharpen yourself with every book you can read it, and get your focus on, and don't don't come out don't come out um trying to catch up, or get back what you lost or whatever, because you'll fall by the wayside if you start aiming for stuff that's not that doesn't matter. You got to come home, and you got to mend relationships. You got to, in a lot of instances, guys burn their bridges, and you got to come home and start slow. You got to start slow, and you got to go steady, and don't try to recapture what you lost. That stuff will come naturally.
For sure. And then last question. Sorry if this seems kind of redundant, but what would you say to a father who's getting out, who's kind of nervous about uh, maybe his relationship with his son kind of deteriorated. Like you said, in prison, he didn't, there was a lot of back and forth. What would you say to that father who's coming back and kind of, nervous about even interacting with his family again, and how to deal with that kind of bittersweet, those emotions? What would you say?
I'll tell him to go full speed ahead, to do it, to me in that relationship with his kid, do whatever it takes, because it's whatever happened, or whatever caused the rift is water under the bridge, and you gotta let bygones be bygones. You can't move forward. You can't drive forward and you looking backwards. You can't. It's impossible. Stuff in the past, you gotta leave in the past sometime and start over, start new. And you in essence are starting new. You come out because you don't have anything. You gotta get everything all over. You gotta start new, and you let everything that's in the past stay in the past.
Absolutely. So I think my final question to you, sir, and I thank you again. This has been a delight to me, honestly, and I think your story is extremely powerful. I think it's extremely helpful. There's so many men who are going to be able to relate to you. So many people who have children whose parents have gone to prison. They'll have that grace and that they'll see it from a different side.
Right.
So, last question: what have you learned about yourself through this whole season of your life? What going to prison, coming out, and kind of conquering that. What have you learned about yourself?
What have I learned about myself? One of the primary things I learned about myself is that I'm responsible for me. I'm responsible for my actions. I'm responsible for the way I think, and that I need to hold myself accountable. And I've done that, and I've learned that I need to know that my primary source of help is God and me. That nobody's gonna come and save me. I have to get me together. And like I said, I look to God, and I've learned that I'm strong. I'm stronger than I thought I was, because I question myself a lot of times, because you have when you incarcerated, you have a whole bunch of by yourself meetings, and you get to really know yourself. But I learned that God's got a purpose, and that you need to focus on that purpose, and then you need to get yourself together so that you can fulfill that purpose that He has for you. And I found that out about myself.
I love that. I love that answer. Thank you. Again, thank you for your time. Uh, Thank you for just even, being as honest, as candid as you've been. Because that genuineness, people need to see that. People need to hear that. And like you said, I absolutely believe God does have a purpose. I think I'm honored that I have this platform where I could even ask you and you would even agree. So thank you again.
Right. See your purpose. You fulfilling your purpose.
Trying to. Absolutely.
Yeah. You doing it. Doing it. You're on the air.
For sure. This is just the beginning. Don't sleep.
Right.
By the time, don't sleep on chocolate.
Right. That's right.
This
That's
is
right.
strategic. I got some things I'm doing. So again, thank you, Mr. John Morton. I'm waiting for that book.
Listen, I'm I'm gonna make myself do it here soon. I've been talking to some people. Actually, one of my boys, he just got got a podcast contract with Google about returning citizens, and he's gonna have me on that. And he's got some authors that he's looking at to help him write a book. And he said, man, you need to write, you need to get that book done. And so I'm gonna get on it. It's coming.
Absolutely. So when those things come, especially when you're on that podcast, let me know, and I'll put all the links in the description box so you guys can, learn more from this man's wisdom. Until next time, thank you guys for watching. Love you.
Love you.